Tonight's guests are Peyton Rose and Tyler Conrad from Flora High School, the current ICAST All-State Angler leaders. Coming up next. As ready as you can be, right?
Sounds good.
All right, welcome back to the Kraken Lair podcast. I have Peyton Rose and Tyler Conrad from Flora High School. Welcome. Happy to have you guys. It's going to be an exciting episode. I got two Southern boys, even though Tyler is a big Bears fan. I can see that post in the background. Represent. I like getting my regions of all over the state and different perspectives of all different types of kids. And I think you guys are my first Southern region guests. So I'm super happy about that and excited because I know how good you guys are, but I'm like looking over your resume when I started doing these statistics on Friday, and I'm like, man, I forgot how really good these kids are. So let's get started. I have IHSA. So last year, that was the first time you guys were on the Newton Lake for IHSA, right? Because before it was always on a different body of water. I didn't even write it down. What body of Forbes? Forbes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's say Forbes sounds familiar. So last year, Tyler, you guys were sectional champs, you and your boats. At Newton, and I think you guys had, what was that? Was it 16 pounds if I remember
16
correctly?
Pounds, yeah.
Perfect. Pete, we'll get to you and why you didn't fish that later. I know you guys do certain things differently when it comes to your team and how you guys get selected. I know you fished a lot of outside tournaments, which kind of affected that the outcome, and I think you and I talked about that in the past, but we'll talk about that a little bit later and how that works. And then I have some IBFCA awards. You two were 2021, 2022 All-State Anglers. Congratulations on that part. And currently in 2022, 2023, the first and second place total points in All-State Anglers. Shooting for that Angler of the Years, are we?
Sure. Yes.
Oh yeah. That's what we want. That's the goal. I think this year for sure will be even more difficult for whoever wins this award, because I think the competition is just getting bigger, better, stronger all around, just more fun for everybody. It's especially fun for me to watch. It's been a blast. And then I have some season 1, season 2, season 3 stats. You guys fished a little bit in season 1, fished a little bit more in season 2, and then just exploded on the scene because you guys just decided we're just going to travel and fish all these bodies of water. Season 1, I think you guys only just stayed in the southern region because we didn't really have that many events, but did well in the 2 events that you did fish. You guys, I have you guys down for event 5 at Newton Lake, and event 7, Lake of Egypt, which we'll talk about Lake of Egypt. I think Lake of Egypt is like the common theme body of water for you two, and how well you guys do at that body of water. It's just quite amazing, just like looking at that stuff, which is really cool. So at Newton, you guys took 12th, and Lake of Egypt, you guys took 8th. So those two standings were enough to get you guys to our very first class championship, which at the time was called our state championship at Clinton Lake. And you guys finished 14th. And I think that year there was 67 boats, I believe, 67, 66. So a pretty good finish for the 3 events that you guys did fish. And then going on to season 2, this is when you guys started putting a little bit more name behind you, even more so, if that makes any sense. Springfield event 3, you took 12th, which you guys won that tiebreaker. We'll talk about tiebreaker a little bit later. And then we took 4th at Lake of Egypt on event 7. So again, Lake of Egypt, 4th place, good turnout. And then that was the end of the fall. And then we come back. And I think that's the one that got you guys qualified, if I remember correctly, right? Because there was, I remember you guys, you were the first boat there. It was like 540 maybe. And I think, Pete, that was the first time you used your personal boat that day, right? Man, my memory, look at that. Yep. So, and then I remember there was 2 boats that were registered that later that you guys didn't realize put you over the top to get you qualified, because it was only going to be the top 3, and it ended up being the top 4, which got you guys in. 10th place at Lake of Egypt in the spring, which that was a very large field. I think it was 91. Newton, we come back to Newton event 5, and I think that's kind of like your home lake, take 5th place. And then you guys travel up north to kind of my neck of the woods, and event 11, Braidwood, you guys took 13th, which to me, I think that's a really good finish, especially for kids like you have never fished that body of water. And I think that was the first time you guys fished that week, right? So was it that week?
Fished the day before, but yeah, other than that was it.
Yeah, and that can be a very tough lake if you've never been on it. It's a very fun lake. And you can catch some big fish. And then that was the last event you guys fished for season 2, because you've already punched your ticket to the Clash. And then the Clash at Springfield, you guys took 18th place out of 66 boats, I believe. And then moving on to season 3, this is when all of a sudden you guys just started and all these finishes are in the top 20, which is amazing. I don't think you guys have fished a single tournament that didn't finish in the top 20, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe one. Okay, yeah, that one doesn't count. We'll talk about.
We don't talk about that.
We will talk that one and Rend. We won't talk about that one.
Yeah.
Everybody finished 7th, I think, actually, if we remember correctly. But you know what? It's funny that we talk about Rend, and we'll get to it. I have an improv question that I just thought of this morning, thinking, I'm like, oh, I can't believe I didn't write that down. This is a perfect question to ask. So I'll come back to you on that Rend. So event 1, Jacksonville season 3, this is this school year, 7th place. Springfield event 2, 19th place, and that was back-to-back weekends or back-to-back events on the same weekend. And then the following weekend, you guys took 2nd at Shelbyville. A very good finish. The following weekend at Kincaid, we took 7th. And then the next day, another back-to-back events that weekend, Kincaid, Lake of Egypt. So Lake of Egypt, we take 2nd. And that was the tiebreaker, the coin toss. And we'll talk about that a little bit after this. And then 5th place at St. Chris, event 8. So that tiebreaker, you two were phenomenal sports when it comes to the tiebreaker. I think that was such a cool thing. What happened? So if people don't know, we'll do a big recap. In our tiebreaker, we always do big bass to determine what the tiebreaker is, just in case kids are tied with the same amount of weights. First, it's number of fish, and then big bass, and then it goes to, I can't remember correctly on the top of my head. Then I think it's the coin flip, number 3, right?
Amount of fish, maybe. And
yes. Yeah, no dead fish, correct. And then amount of fish, and then coin flip. So everything was lined up perfectly. You guys had a tie and everything. You had a tie in amount of fish, total weight, big bass, everything. So we came down to the coin flip, and you ended up losing the coin flip. And the 4 kids that were involved with you two, and then the other 2 kids that ended up taking first. To me, I think both you guys deserved the first place finish. It's just the way it was. It's just a coin flip. It's just how it is. But it is what it is, right? So when it comes to that tiebreaker was kind of a very fun thing that happened that week. And it was like the talk of the week and the talk of the season. Now I'm going to give it to you guys. Let me know your NYFA stat, because I couldn't find anything on you guys. So I'm going to let Pete or Tyler take over on your NYFA stats.
So I'll let Tyler talk about Clinton because he clutched up there. So that was the first one we fished, I think.
Yeah. 3rd place at Clinton, right?
Yes.
So that one, we actually had to take a break during the tournament because it started off so bad. And then it just turned on. Ended up catching – how many pounds we have that tournament?
I think we had like 1040 something, maybe. We had 4 fish. Mine, of course, was 1 12-incher, and then Tyler had like 3 3-pounders.
Yeah.
3-pounders. He had 3 studs. But
we got second for big bass.
We didn't pre-fish. We had something go on the night before, I think, and we couldn't – or the weather was weather or something.
Right.
We just showed up and took off. We tried shallow fishing in the morning, couldn't get it done. So, like Tyler said, we sat down, we took a break, ate some purple Doritos. That's the good luck. And
hey, nice little reset.
Oh, yeah. Got up, decided we were going to try a little deep thing. Neil graphed across the brush pile. He's like, there's fish in there. I pick up a crankbait, bomb it on one side. Tyler picks up a brush hog, puts it right in it. I hook a little one. I think it's a bluegill or something that I've got on bait. And it flops off. He gets in that, flops off, and I was like, hey, bluegill, but it was the first bite, or it was a second bite of the morning. He did catch one on a chatterbait early. I forgot about that one. And then so he sets his rod down, goes to net the fish, this bluegill, before we knew it was a bluegill, of course, and it flops off. So he puts the net back down, turns around, grabs his rod, lifts up, sets the hook. Big fish of the day is like almost 4 pounds.
Yeah. Just have my rod just sitting there.
Yeah.
Isn't that awesome how it just out of pure luck, coincidence, whatever you want to call it, how the tides just turn like that?
Yep.
So cool. All right, so that was 3rd place at Clinton. And then I know you fished other events at NYFI. So what other events do we have?
So we fished Lake of Egypt. That was in early May, and we were on a lot of smaller fish, of course, putting our rounds in on Egypt. We didn't finish very well. I mean, I say we didn't finish very well. I'm not for sure where we finished. I mean, it was – let me look real quick. I think we were – sorry, I don't remember. It wasn't –
I don't remember that one either.
Then it wasn't that good.
No.
We had like 9 or 10 pounds.
Yeah, so, for you guys, when it comes to Lake of Egypt, based off my records, Lake of Egypt 8th place, Lake of Egypt 4th place, Lake of Egypt 10th place, Lake of Egypt 2nd place. So yeah, if you guys didn't finish in the top 10, then it must have been really bad for you guys.
Yeah, I think we got like 19th. We didn't have 10 pounds. We had like 940 something, and I think it took like 14-15 to win. It was a good tournament. The fish up shallow were, just coming off beds, or there's still a couple on beds, and then the deep.
I have a feeling we're going to lose Peyton in some of these questions.
Yeah.
His lips are moving, but I can't hear anything that's coming out of his mouth.
I can't
hear it. So,
how's that?
Yeah, it's gonna be shoddy. It is what it is. We'll figure it out.
Okay. Yeah.
So we'll go to Tyler since this connection seems like it's good. So third at Clinton, not so good at Lake of Egypt. And I think you guys had one more event that year or this year for the NYFA. What was that?
That was at the state championship at Crab Orchard.
Okay. And how'd that go?
And it went well for what we had to go through.
Yeah.
So we were at the World Finals down in Pickwick, and we ended up driving overnight to that tournament.
Oh, okay, I remember the story.
Maybe 15 minutes before the launch.
Yeah, maybe.
Never even been to that lake before, and just it was crazy. And then what did we get? That one third again.
We got third again at that one, and Tyler had the winning fish hooked on the last cast.
Yes, and it came off right at the boat.
Yeah, we started early, really slow. I caught one like 2.5 on a frog, and every boat in this tournament pretty much was on this bridge. Like, so we got to get in on this bridge. So I pick up one of my favorite baits, an old shaky head, black shaky head, throw it right behind this boat because it's bumper to bumper all the way down the bridge.
Yeah.
Throw right behind the boat, hit the bridge piling, drop it down, catch a 460 something. So we had like a 2.5 and a 4.5. So we got to put something together. It went dead completely. And then the last 10 minutes, we went back to that spot. I was like, Tyler's like, all right, I'm going to throw this, and we're going to fish a couple more casts, and we got to go in because it's pretty close to the boat ramp.
Yeah.
He flips up there, bam, catches like a 3 or something, catches a nice one. It's like, all right, cool. We're back in it. Like one more. I was like, crap, we got to go. So I'm buttoning the boat up. I put all my rods up. I get ready to fold the net down. Tyler goes, got one, big one. I turn around. It's like 2.5 pounds halfway back to the boat. I was like, this is our winning fish. Like if my net was twice as long, it would have been in the net. I got ready to scoop, and his rage crawl just go out of the fish to the mouth. Oh,
heartbreaker.
That was only a 4-fish limit too, so
that would have been our limit fish.
1 fish away from winning,
and we were like a pound out or something like that.
Yeah.
So you had 3 of the 4, and that would have been the 4th one, huh?
Yeah. But we still got third.
Yeah.
And we also ended up winning the essay portion scholarships. That was another $200 each. So that made up for not winning first.
Yeah. That's always good.
It was cool. It's fun.
Yeah, you guys, I mean, after looking at these stats, you guys are a really good team together, and you guys do really well. And I have a question in there. I think we got to give lots of props to Neil. I think Neil is such a secret weapon for you two, right? He is like the real deal boater, and we'll talk about him. So let's get started. Well, Tyler was going to start us off with our first question. I'm going to start off with my favorite question. It's becoming my favorite question to ask all kids. Favorite question is favorite technique, bait, lure, any of the 3 combinations, all the 3, whatever it is that you like, whether it's tournament fishing, spring fishing, fun fishing, summer. I mean, you name it, you break it down, let us know.
So I got it between 2, and Neil actually got me on the first one, which is dragging a big jig, like a 1/2 ounce football head jig, out deep. And I had never done it till just a couple years ago. And now it's my favorite thing to do. It's the first thing I look to do at any lake. Just dragging a jig is so fun. The bite that you get, I mean, you can't beat it.
So when you drag it, are you dragging slow, or are you dragging rod tip and reel, or just reel?
It changes depending on how, like if I can get them to bite, I change my technique throughout the day. But just I found most likely the slowest I can be works the best.
Perfect. All right. Yep. So that's a first for the channel as a jig. Most people have been picking top water. I mean, top water is super fun though, but this is another unique way of catching some really big fish. And I think if you look at a lot of the state records, a lot of those anglers said that the jig has been the bait of their state record. So Tyler, you're onto something. Or Neil and Tyler are onto something. All right, for Pete, favorite technique, bait, lure, whatever. It could be different time of the year, or is it something that you just love to do all the time?
So I got a handful of stuff for you here, and I'll start out with the bite we just got done with. Is our winter bite, especially Egypt. I fish tournament Ozarks, Kyson Bradley. That's this guy right here. That Bama rig bite is fun.
Oh, I don't.
You watch them on scope, they haul up to it and they smoke it.
Yeah,
it's fun. So that's my winter deal, and then summer, of course. That right there. That little guy.
I like how you're bringing out the baits too. It's fun. It gives.
I'm sitting on my boat, so they're within arms.
Yeah, that's how we got to do it.
And then our consistent bait that seems like we can always put keepers on. That little 1/4 ounce black shaky head zoom worm.
Yeah, you were just saying it. Yeah. Look at that.
That's like Tyler smiled as soon as they pulled out. But man, it is just it's caught him for us.
Yeah, and it's funny hearing from a southern region kid where finesse fishing isn't like a big major thing, because it's really a finesse fishing, especially in the northern Illinois, just how it is. But it's really cool to see that you guys do that as well, and how fishing is so versatile, and it could change from bodies of water, the southern end of the region of the state, and central, northern. I mean, if it works, it works, and if you're good at it, you're going to stick to it. So that's a really cool. All right, question number 2, back to Tyler. How have you liked fishing some of the northern Illinois waters? I know you've only fished the Braidwood, but what is it that was a little different, and why was it important for you guys to fish there, and so on? And do you plan on fishing more northern bodies of water?
Yeah, so it's always cool to fish new bodies of water, and we try to do that as much as we can. I think those northern lakes, they really are really different from down here, just because of like structure and stuff like that. And I'm trying to think here. I mean, to me, it's gonna get us better for when we start going out of state for college and stuff like that. And it's a great opportunity for us to do that now while we're still in high school, instead of just going there and having no clue what we're doing.
That was literally my bait to you, to make sure you say that how important it is to get versatile throughout many bodies of water, especially if you're going to fish college. So I'm glad you said it. And I knew both or one of you were going to say it. So piggybacking for Pete, because I know you've already committed to Wabash college, right? So that's awesome. Tyler, have you decided where you're going yet, or is it something that you're
not yet?
Still deciding?
But
okay, it'll come.
Still got a year.
So. Yeah, he's that's right. That's right. You are 1 year younger. Oh man, Who are you gonna fish with next year?
Maybe my little brother. I don't know.
There you go. You got to get him on. Got to get him on the same train that you guys have been rolling for the past 2 years. So for you, Pete, how have you liked fishing that? I mean, especially I guess Braidwood is one example, but other bodies of water that you fished, and how is it? Why is it so important to you?
All right, so like we consider northern, Springfield, Clinton, Heideke, Braidwood, that sort of deal. And the Braidwood was super north for us, I've been to La Crosse, Wisconsin before, but that does not fish like northern water. That fishes like something down here. But like we have a lot of vegetation down here in our southern lakes. The fish are vegetation oriented a lot of the time, especially when it's warmer. And going up to a place like Braidwood where we didn't find near as much vegetation as what we're used to, like the rock and the gravel bottom, that was a big change for us. And then also the Braidwood kind of sketchy in some areas, and we
really sketchy.
Yeah, we learned there, but it was like Tyler said, it's good to get that when you're in high school, get that experience.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to college, you know how to fish. Even just something like Braidwood, fishing that gravel bottom, it's a different feel that you don't get down here. and those guys up there coming down here and fishing the clay bottoms.
Right.
Like we have clay and some muds and stuff. You have to tell the difference between that, and that'll determine, how well you can feel and stuff.
For sure. I think it's so important for kids that are thinking about being serious in fishing, whether it's just high school competitively and then that's it. It's still important to travel. If you're thinking about high school and beyond, it's very important to travel because you're going to see different types of waters, and it's good to get good at all those and get some experience, because the moment you get experience on it, you kind of remember it and you know exactly what to do.
Right.
So yeah, that's very good. Good answers. I figured you two are going to give me some good answers, so that's why we're just going to pitch you some soft pitches and hammer out of the ballpark, baby. All right, question number 3 for Tyler. Start us off. How do you guys prepare for lakes that you have lots of experience in? Because to me, when you fish a lot of these bodies of water, like sometimes being in your head can mess with you, and it seems like it doesn't. So how do you prepare for that? And how do you prepare for new bodies of water?
So the ones here around home, we try to fish as much as possible and gain new spots to go to every day. That way you always have a plan B when your plan A doesn't work. And just being on the water on these close lakes, you can have the ability to do that. Compared to new bodies of water, I'd say Google Earth is our best friend for those. Just figuring out what depths and stuff like that for those lakes are, and what kind of structure and grass and stuff like that they're going to have. And then you can always find videos and stuff for times of year during those lakes to watch too.
Yeah, I think Google Earth is starting to become a necessity tool of electronic pre-fishing. So when you guys prepare, do you prepare together? Do you prepare on your own and then you share thoughts? How? I guess I'll let Pete answer it first, and then we'll answer my follow-up. So before we answer the follow-up, how do you prepare for similar bodies of water, to the same bodies of water, and then new bodies of water?
So like our similar bodies of water, our Newtons, our Egypt's lakes, we fish quite a bit. We fish there enough to where we know we got an idea of what we're going to do. The night before we'll say, okay, Tyler has a jig tied on. I'm going to have a Texas rig, and we're going to have our colors and our baits we normally run through. We're going to run our pattern. If that's not working, then we've got another whole run of plan Bs, and we got a plan, we got plan Cs. We've got all that. Now on a new body of water, when we study up, like you said, Google Earth is real good. I like getting to the lake and just drive up and then down one time, kind of look and see what we're working with. Because like Springfield, we haven't even driven that whole lake yet, to be honest. We've kind of broke it down in parts and fished parts. And, way up the creek, I'm not even sure what's up there. But like Egypt, when we first fished it, we ran all the way up, all the way down. We've broken it down. I really like doing that too. I like getting there and fishing it, and then, we'll have some Google Earth spots to start on, but then once you get there, that can change a lot.
Yeah, I like the driving up and down, because I don't think people realize sometimes seeing it is going to help you kind of determine your gut answers of what you are seeing. Right? A lot of people just, I guess the research is just so stuck in their head, but sometimes feeling it out and seeing it the day before definitely helps, and it kind of gives you a different perspective of it. So yeah, that's really cool. Very interesting how you do that, different ways. So how do you utilize Neil when it comes to this game plan? Because Neil, and I think I have on my question, Neil is one there. Yep, he's on question 7. He's such a phenomenal boater, and I don't want to spoil the question, but how do you guys utilize him when it comes to pre-fishing?
Neil, he does everything for us, whether it's just, like like you said, pre-fishing, he really doesn't cast and catch all that much. He usually is just sitting there watching us, telling us, I mean, not really what to do, but just giving us little tips here and there. But I mean, he does all that Google Earth and stuff too. Like he's got all that in his head, and he knows it.
Yeah.
He knows those lakes left and right by the time he's done researching all of them.
He's a freaking genius, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
He is. And anytime Tyler, you guys are not related, right? Even though the same last name.
No, well, it's
Okay.
not the same.
Oh no, that's right. That's right. Yeah, it looks the same when you look at it.
Yeah.
I always get mixed that up. Yeah. But I mean, he's not related to you guys, and he's just this really cool boater. It's just so phenomenal when it comes to his knowledge of fishing, how to be a boater. And I think he's not so hands-on with it, right? It's more he kind of tells you and then he lets you do it, which I think is a really great teaching tool, especially for high school kids, because you guys kind of have to just do it, fail, feel, succeed, and he's kind of there as a crutch to kind of help it. So I guess you guys got to soak in as much. So when people say how important boaters are, I think it is a underutilized thing for kids in tournament fishing, and you guys can attest to that. So sometimes having knowledge on the boat with you is such a benefit for your success. So yeah, well, I'm going to leave the more Neil questions later, because I'm telling you, this guy is just.
We can talk about Neil for a long time.
I'm gonna say we could talk about him for a while. He might be our third whole Zoom, because I just did get a warning that our first Zoom has to end, which is amazing, because we got through 3 questions. The last 2 podcasts, I've gone through 2 or 1 question before I have to reset a Zoom. It's crazy. So it's either I'm being efficient, I'm starting to understand, like, I need to get through things so fast, but I don't want to rush these, because these 2 kids have so much knowledge, so much experience on the water, really good stories, and they're really good anglers. So I don't want to rush that, but we are going to have to take our first break, and then we'll come right back. So, all right, resume. Take 2. We are back. So question number 4. So I did the math, and I know this is just basic math. I just added up all your finishes and divided by the amount of events. In season 1, you guys finished, and I'm just going ICAST events, just because I have a lot of statistics on that, obviously. In season 1, your average finish was 10.4, so 10th place. Season 2, 7.8, which is around 8th place finish. And then season 3, 7.0, so an entire boat finish better. And I think if it wasn't for that Springfield event, you probably would be even higher, right?
Right.
So now you got to do more driving on Springfield to figure that out. Because the Clash is right around the corner, even though it doesn't feel like it's around the corner, but it's going to come quick. I mean, we are 2.5 weeks out to our first back-to-back tournaments. Super excited. Your home area. So leading into the next question. So we'll start off with Tyler. What adjustments did you guys make from last year to this year? Because you're even more consistent and just going off our stats. Like, even though it's one whole place, if we take away that outlier, your average is probably around 5th place. So it's a big difference between that and last year and this year. So what adjustments have you guys made, or have you not made any adjustments?
I think it's really just fishing, being on the water and fishing more tournaments. It seems like every tournament we fish, we learn something new. And every time being on that water, we learn something. So the next time, it's our goal to be better, to do better, and to make adjustments, to change if we need to, or just really just anytime you can be on the water, it helps you for the next time, for your next tournament there.
Yeah, and that was the common theme. Connor Hall from Jacksonville last week was saying time in the water. He would keep stressing time in the water just makes you a better angler. So this is why I feel like our kids in Illinois, and specifically you and more to come, are just going to get better overall, because the amount of time on the water opportunities that kids are going to have, it's growing and growing. So that's good that you're kind of just taking experience to get better. But obviously you guys do your pre-homework and all that. So that obviously makes it a little bit of a difference. Pete, for you, is it the same? Is it different? What is it that you feel adjustments personally or as a team that you think you've made that made yourself more consistent?
So I think, like Tyler said, just we've put a lot more time in this past year for sure. And just, we're getting more experience the more years we've fished, like our stats have shown that we've gotten better. The longer we fish, we get more knowledge. And then I think another big one was we've been lucky enough to qualify early in the fall the last 2 seasons. So then in the spring and then even later in the fall, like this year, we qualified early fall. So later fall, we could try swinging for the fences. We could try for the weights. And that's really, I think, helped our, the confidence is there. Once you're, we know we're in the class. Now let's go try to win one. Let's go get a check, that sort of deal.
I like it. Yeah, I just wrote down qualifying early helps because it keeps you loose. It keeps you, it gives you the opportunity to be risky, kind of like how you said.
Right.
So like if you really wanted to drag a bigger jig, Tyler, just put that bigger jig, tie it on. So going through your jig, what is your favorite trailer that you put on?
Rage crawl.
Okay. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, it was Strike King is such the Rage crawl, those it has so much movement in the water that the claws just seem to move so much. Yeah, good old special Strike King, not the crazy that everybody always goes to, and we'll have other, soft plastics that people love, but sometimes good old reliable is just the way to go. Do you do a specific color or do you not want to share that? Or are you okay with sharing that?
Well, I mean, it's pretty normal. Just really green pumpkin, summer crawl, one of those two.
Okay. Yeah, it seems to me that kids that are more consistently good at tournaments keep it as basic and simple as possible. Very simple colors. So if you guys are watching this, take note. You don't need all the fancy colors. So sometimes it's just a basic color. So yeah. All right. Tyler, you're a junior, you have one more year, but let's start thinking ahead. What are your goals for you? And you have expressed you want to fish in college. What are your goals when you do go to college? What's your goals for college fishing?
I want to win that national championship. Just like Trevor McKinney did.
Basic, plain and simple. Win the championship. Goal, set, match. I like it. It's simple. It's just something that you put on there and you just kind of keep going for it, right? I like it. I like it a lot. Pete, for you start next year. This is your last spring as a high school angler. It's kind of sad, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very.
Yeah. But you know what? I think you've taken advantage of the last 3 years being able to fish this series, which is super awesome. Tyler, you're kind of like our you get to fish all 4 years I cast.
Yes, I do.
Yes, that's right. Pete, you got to do it to 3 years, and I still think 3 years is better than 2. It's better than 1. It's better than none. The more you just been able to do it is great. So what are your goals going into college since you do start in the fall? And technically, I think you start in July, right?
Yeah, I think August, September. September is the first one I think the whole team goes to, and that's at Kentucky Lake. And there'll be some qualifiers July, August, some McKendree tournaments that, if Todd decides to send me, I'd go. But my goal for sure is keep with the consistency, Of course, we probably won't be able to get a 7th place average finish with 200 college boats. That's a tough goal to meet. But
never know.
You never know, but just staying consistent for sure. And then eventually, like Tyler said, try to get a championship, win the classic bracket, something like that. And then after college, possibly some opens tournaments, Toyota Series type deal. I'd like to do that, but that's a dream right now. We'll see how college goes before we make any decisions there.
Yeah. And no, it's good to have those goals, even though you're 4 years out, because it gives you motivation, it keeps you on track, and kind of lets you think. So how does Wabash, give us a little insight? How does Wabash determine who is their co-anglers or pros and the starters? How do they determine? How does Todd do that for you guys? Do you know, or is it something that you kind of already know because this is how the process was part of it for you to pick them as a school?
So, a big thing to start off with, he's going to look your boat. He would like to have forward-facing sonar on there, of course, a 19, 20, 21-foot boat. And then he's going to look like, especially us incoming freshmen, your high school stats, where all of you traveled. He really likes to see us go to the MLFs. He loves the ICAST series, but he really likes to see us go MLF, go big, follow the college tournaments around, pre-fish MLF, the college tournament day, go watch their weigh-in, kind of get a feel for it.
Yeah.
And then get to fish those same lakes that they're going to be coming back to within a couple of years. He also, the kids that are in there go off of, just your word. Do you like your co-angler? Do you like your boater? Do you guys vibe? Do you guys,
That's cool. I like that.
do you fish similar? And then again, as the last thing, off of your tournament finishes too. Like if you've got a co-angler who's really catching them out of the back of the boat and a boater who's really catching them out of the front, he's going to pair those two up at a certain lake, like Andrew and Gannon at Pickwick. They both, Andrew, of course, his sister lives on Pickwick, so he's down there quite a bit. Okay. And those two went down there and they qualified for natties at Pickwick. So,
Yeah, it's very cool to see different perspectives of college coaches. I like all aspects of it. I like the hardcore, my routine, my point system, like McKendry does it. I really like that. I think there's a lot of merit to that, especially if that's your go-to for a coach. But I also like how you just said, if Todd thinks that you two are going to vibe well together, sometimes chemistry can make some magical things happen, and it's sometimes just for the best. So that's why I think it's important for you kids when you guys are looking for schools, ask questions, figure out what's best for you, because essentially you're going to be fishing like as a job almost for those 4 years. So you kind of have to figure out, does it fit your style? So I like it. I like that these coaches have different styles, and it kind of gives the young adults like you guys the opportunity to kind of do what it is that makes you guys so special. All right.
Well, Wabash will only get 2 years. It's a JUCO.
That's right. Yeah.
But then I would like to move on to another school, but we'll see. We'll see how things go.
Yeah, I totally forgot that it's a 2-year college. A lot of these 2-year colleges are starting to pick up some major big name kids, and I always forget that Wabash is just a 2-year college. It's too bad because you guys have some really good anglers on that team.
It's gonna be fun next year.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That's right. Awesome. All right, next question. I've never asked this one, but I feel like I want to, since you guys are so consistently good, right? I want to know, what is the weakest part of your game, and why do you think it's the weakest part of your game, Tyler?
Well, mine's going to be completely opposite from Peyton's, but mine's finesse fishing. Anything with a spin caster, I'm not good at it. I don't really like it. But being down here in the South, we don't really need it.
Yeah.
So, I don't need to practice it down here, but that's why we go to those northern lakes where I can get time using it.
Now it makes perfect sense why you guys work so well together.
You're gonna because I cannot catch a kicker fish to save my life. Like over 3.5, 4 pounds, they elude me. I'll catch them free fishing, or I'll catch them fun fishing. Newton's a different story, though.
That's a unicorn like.
Yeah, I just struggle to catch like a good 4 or 5 pound fish. But Tyler seems to put the kickers in the boat. He can put the big ones in the boat. I'll put 12 inches in. I'll pull out that shaky head. I'll put his 5 for 5 pounds in.
Yeah.
But then Tyler's going to start calling them out those 2.5s. And I'm like, crap, I better pick up something.
Yeah. I mean, that's good to know as a combo to kind of help each other out as a team. This is why I like the team aspect of high school fishing. And I feel like college is probably the same way. I just like that team aspect of when you realize, like, use each other to make yourselves better as a whole, because you're not really fishing against each other. You're like you said, hey, I'll catch 5. And Tyler, you just call us out, right? Like, because once you have 5 in the box, the stress level goes away, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
It almost makes you feel like, all right, we got this. At least we're weighing in 5. Let's just see what happens the rest of the day. When you don't have 5 and you have 30 minutes left, the defeat that you feel, I mean, it is. So, like, another good point. If you're watching, this is a great example of using and utilizing each other's strengths and weaknesses to make you better as a team, because complete opposites of weaknesses and strengths. So that's a good compliment to each other. So it looks like Pete's gonna have to tell you to go to Wabash so that his sophomore year they have Tyler back.
Go back to Hartwell, and we'll give Hartwell a good run for them.
Yeah. You know what? The cool thing about this year, I believe, if I remember correctly, we're on pace to have 12 to 15 national qualifiers, which helps us out because looking back at last year's class, you guys were 18, so just 3 spots away if it is 15. And the best news is we already have 2 Illinois teams that have qualified for nationals. We just had one yesterday win. Century. They won at Lay Lake, so they are a free ticket right into the national championship, which essentially is if they do make it to the clash, that is one other boat that's no longer a competitor in your guys' eyes, which is awesome. I just think, I mean, the more and more I see these Illinois kids like you, the JCA kids, the Century boys that just finished yesterday, I think Illinois anglers, and I'll say it over and over because I think you guys are going to agree, Illinois anglers are a lot better than when people realize, because and I always say we because I feel like I'm part of you guys, but it's really you. It's you guys. You guys have so much like different grit that you deal with on a one-day tournament compared to someone that's in, and I don't want to pick on Florida, but like a lake in Florida. I mean, it's very different. It's just what it is. So watch out, US. Illinois anglers are the real deal. So, all right, now let's go into the hour-long question. The Neil Diamond. All right, so how, and we've already talked about this a little bit, and you kind of alluded to, but we need more detail on and why Neil makes you guys so good. Because I think people need to start realizing sometimes, obviously, if it's like a last second boater and it's your parent, you got to have them. But if your parent is not strategic when it comes to bass fishing, they're just going to be in the body of water with you just to make sure, and they're not really like that brain to help you out. So what is it that Neil makes you guys so good, and how does it make you so good? Try to give us some insight, Tyler, and then people give us some insight as well.
Well, I think one of the biggest things he does is just helping us keep our heads when nerves are getting to us or something. He's always telling us slow down, stop going so fast. He's always like, when it comes to like drinking and food, he never wants us getting dehydrated. He's always telling us, all right, just like Clinton, take a break, get you something to drink, something to eat, and then get back out there. He doesn't want us to just tire ourselves out and then not want to be there anymore. He's always telling us, make that extra cast, just keeping our heads is a big thing he does for us.
Dude, I just wrote that down, and I have a tiny Sharpie just a little tiny one, but I wrote it as big as I possibly can. Eat and drink. I think it is the most underutilized thing for teenage kids, especially teenage boys that get hangry, like, and dehydrated. Whenever you're dehydrated, stupid things go through your head, and it's just anger and no thinking. So man, that's a really good thing there you go. That just shows you right there the little things that Neil, it makes you guys better. It's just super simple, like drink water, slow down, eat. Because sometimes having that little break makes a huge difference. It's crazy. All right, Pete, you gotta elaborate a little bit more on Neil. And more so than the food and the drink, even though that is super important. That's why I wrote down, because like I don't think people realize eating and drinking on the boat is important, because it kind of gives you that mental break.
Mm-hmm. So one big thing that I really, right off the bat, when you ask us this question, is when we get in the car in the morning, going back to your how do you study a lake? We all kind of do our own thing. We may meet up on Friday night, go to Mexican, go eat, talk about it. But a lot of times we get in the car in the morning, and it's like a pinball machine of ideas. They're just bang. Did you see this spot? Look at this spot. Look at this spot. I heard they're catching them on this. Well, I watched 10 Horse Monty catch them on something on Kincaid yesterday. And it's just like there's videos and ideas, and, there's always something. And we can bounce our ideas off him, be like, they stopped eating the brush hog. Should we switch to a pit boss or something? And he'd be like, well, the pit boss, does this special, just that's theoretical,
Yeah.
He's just got fishing knowledge beyond our years. And he's been to these lakes, taking Tyler's older brother, Andrew, he took him to Egypt. That's kind of where we got our first Egypt spots. And then we kind of build off of that. And that's another, way we've got, I got to give his brother and Grant Binky some props too, because
very true.
They were the ones who went out and they got us spots to start on, when they were in high school. So then Neil started taking us, we started there. Well, that worked. So why wouldn't this work? This worked. So why wouldn't that work? And then we build off of that. We had a pretty decent starting ground when our legs hit the ground, we were running,
Yeah. And it's, I think that's what makes, programs really good, because you guys kind of, you put it down to the next group of kids. And Tyler's brother fished. And I think Tyler isn't your uncle the head coach for Flora?
Yes, he is.
Okay. So like, obviously that knowledge kind of gets built into there, and everything just keeps, getting better and better for your program. So, that's such a great tool. People don't realize passing it along to the next generation of your high school alumni is so beneficial, because it just gives your program that, I don't know, that swagger of just being really good over and over. I think that's a cool thing. My high school just got their fishing program started this year, so I'm pretty excited about them. They're probably going to be super terrible. They're from the north, obviously, because I'm up here. They're really not. They're known for boys soccer. Like boys soccer they're just really good. So to have a bunch of kids from Berwyn and Cicero fishing is going to be cool. But at the same time, I'll have some proud moments when they do fish, and I think they are signing up for 3 of the events in the Northern Lakes. So I'll obviously help them out as much as I can, and that's because it's a pride thing of like alumni school, right? Like I'm sure 10 years from now, if you're just in the fishing on the boat and some kid has a Flora jersey, I guarantee you're going to have a conversation with those kids, right?
For sure.
It's not going to be like, oh, they're just figuring out. It's going to be like, oh, come here. And then once you start telling them stories, they're gonna be like, wait a minute, are you so and so? It's gonna be really cool. I just think I think that's such a cool thing to do, is to pass along to the younger groups, because you guys were there currently, and obviously you're reaping the benefits from a guy like Neil. So boater, super important. get your education in. If you want to contribute to those kids, I think having knowledge on certain lakes is it's a key. And he takes you to all these things too, right? I mean, he's like,
the dude is willing to do literally whatever we have to do to win.
Yeah.
Like we fished Pickwick for 5 days in a row.
Yes.
Caught like 2 keepers the whole time, 100 degrees every day. It was rough, and we fished daylight to dark every single day. And day 1, we struggled. And we actually parked next to another Illinois boat, Levi Cole and Lane Argo.
Wow.
And they had boat troubles first day.
Oh, poor guys.
They're like, Bay Springs is absolutely loaded. I was like, really? They're like, go fish it. I was like, that is a 3-hour round trip from the Florence boat ramp at 65 mile an hour. It's like, I looked at Neil. He goes, guess we're going to Bay Springs because we don't have anything in Pickwick. So we ran that whole drive. We caught 1 keeper, but the amount of fish we seen in there were insane.
Yeah.
So the second day, we're like, well, that's the only place we caught a keeper. So ran that 2 days in a row.
Oh.
Well, we got back to the hotel that day. We're like, well, we didn't make it to the final day because we zeroed that last day too. We sucked. But we're like, well, we qualified for the state championship in YFA at Crab. We were in the hotel like, do we go? I was like, well, I'll sign us up just in case. And we ate supper. We kind of sat and talked about it. And it was like 7:30, 8 o'clock, just starting to get dark. And I was like, well, if we leave now, we'll make it within 45 minutes of the takeoff. So Neil's like, pack the boat.
Let's
go. We packed the in Alabama. Me and Tyler, I think, slept most of the time, but drove, like 10 hours?
Yes.
And dumped in 15 minutes before the takeoff. Went and turned our essays and our money in, took off, and fished that tournament. And he didn't sleep a wink in the boat. He was so fired up.
Yeah.
There was like one time he fell asleep for like 30 seconds, and I get a blow up on a frog, and he's like, oh, he's ready to get the net again, you know?
Yeah. He's definitely a gem. Yeah. So what did you guys do at Table Rock?
So at Table Rock, that one is we have a story for every tournament, basically.
Bring it.
I ordered live scope, right? And I was like, we really, really want this on for Table Rock. We're going to go on this big NYFA trip. We really need it on. So I ordered it from Garmin. I called Garmin. I was like, guys, I need this for a tournament. What can I pay? And they're like, well, you can pay the 2-day shipping, but we can't guarantee it. I was like, crap. So I called around everywhere to try to find one. Can't get one. I was like, all right, order it. 2 days later is the day we're leaving. So I was like, if it don't come in, got delayed 1 day. It's like, crap. So as we're pulling out of the driveway at my house that day, I'm watching it. It's in Arkansas. It's in Kentucky. It's in Illinois now. And Neil's buddy, Chris Wagner, actually works at UPS in Olney. I was like, Chris, I need you to tell me as soon as it gets there. He's like, all right. And then, a couple hours later, it's here. So I had Tyler's parents go pick it up, and they actually drove it to Table Rock for us. They were coming to Table Rock. They waited a couple hours, got the package, drove it to us.
That's awesome.
So we fished day 1, or, the first day of practice, Table Rock without scope. No big deal. Got on a little something, but we're like, all right, tomorrow's going to be the real deal. This is the first time we put scope on. 11 o'clock that night, we're in the parking lot of the hotel putting live scope on. The whole front of the boat's tore apart, and me, Neil, and Tyler are out there trying to rewire everything. I think we got in at like 1 o'clock in the morning that night. It was late, but the dude was like, "We got to get it on. We got to get it on." And I was like, "Man, I'm done. I'm ready. I just, I don't know if we need it that bad." He's like, "No, we're so close. Let's do it." So we finished up, and next morning took off with it. And there's been so many times where it's just like stuff he's done is just like normal people wouldn't do that. He's special for sure.
Yeah. So big thank you to Neil. He's an awesome dude. He really is. And I feel like I've never seen you two without him or vice versa. So it's super cool guys. So big thanks to Neil, the boater, for you two. And he's probably going to continue with other kids. And I know he mentioned that he might be helping out start was it Clay County High School, right?
Louisville. So
Okay.
the next little north of us, Clay County and Louisville and Clay City Club, and he's got them. This is their second spring season they're going to, and they are bigger than Flora's club. Actually, it's two schools co-oping together, so you're going to have quite a few kids. But he runs it right. I've been to their meetings, and of course he takes that same energy he gives to us, puts it right back into those kids. They have casting, flipping competitions, once, twice a week. They do, pizza parties. They have fun with it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's how you have to do it. You really need to sell it to the kids to want to come back. So I got an improv question, and we talked about it in the beginning when we were talking about resume. Let's talk about rent, because I remember we had a long conversation. I showed up to the boat ramp the day before, because I always, pull up in my RV, get ready for, and I feel like I'm gonna get a text from Pete asking me, where you at? You here yet? So we can get our boat tag. So I definitely appreciate that, because it makes things super fun. I love it. It's never a bother. And you brought me food at Newton Lake once. That was freaking awesome. So thank you for that.
We're planning something between East Fork and Newton. It's in the works.
Yeah, sweet. See, and and obviously you don't have to do it, but I definitely appreciate it.
Oh no, we're gonna do something.
Thank you. So you guys are like always the first ones there, and I remember having this conversation. Ren's a good lake. You can catch them. I think we're gonna be able to catch them. It's gonna be tough. And everybody kept telling me that Ren's going to be very difficult for two reasons. It's very early on in the spring, and it was flooded. I think it was 6 feet higher than normal. Sure. So obviously those two variables definitely changed Ren Lake, and it put a very bad taste in my mouth at the end, because I felt so bad. I mean, we had I didn't even write it down. I think we had like 50 boats, and only 4 boats caught fish. So technically y'all took 5th. Yeah,
it was tough for sure. Rand is a lake where if you go there and it's 100 degrees outside, you go as shallow as you can get and you'll catch them. It's weird. Yeah. I've got some pretty good history, and so does Tyler. In our high school tournaments, and even with Tyler's older brother Andrew, we won the Student Federation state championship there. My freshman year. Yeah. So I like that lake personally. I definitely caught up on the confidence that you guys were like, we're confident we're going to catch fish. We don't know if we're going to win this all, because I don't think you ever said, I don't think I ever heard the words come out of your mouth saying like, we're going to win this tournament. So I think you are always just confident that you're going to catch fish and be successful at the event. So you were, and I kept thinking, I'm like, all right, you know what? Pete's telling me that, we're going to catch fish at Rend, and it's going to be great. And then nothing. It was heartbreaking. Tyler, how did you feel after that tournament? Because I don't think you were there. It was just Pete and Neil at the.
No, I didn't get to pre-fish.
Okay.
But just knowing that lake and how good it could have been, I mean, it's always disappointing not to weigh in at all. But then after seeing that really nobody did, kind of made me feel a little better. But I thought we should have weighed in something. I really did.
Yeah, we did the right things. I think it was just it was weird.
I think that the winning team had two fish.
Had 2 fish, but one was like a 5-pounder.
That's right. Yeah, Edwardsville. They had one big one. Oh man, that was that was a bad one.
But I promise, if you do a tournament ran, they'll show up. That people know, it's tough. Don't get me wrong, but there's days you get out there and they just eat.
So it's got to be in the summer though.
Yes, if you do another one, do it. Do like your August, September dates. As weird as it is, that muddy water and the hot, I don't get it. But I mean, Tyler and his brother Andrew can vouch too. the hotter it gets, the better it gets there, and the shallower those fish get. It's weird.
Yes.
Maybe I'll wait a couple years so I can like forget it, and then we're back there. So yeah, you know what? We have to give it a try again. I know we do. So we just have to figure out the best time frames to do it, because I think obviously it makes a huge difference. All right, we're going into our last and final question, and I'm kind of sad. I always say this. I'm sad at the eighth and final question, because this is so fun to have these conversations. I see you guys all the time at the boat launch. I don't get to see you during the whole tournament time, but I see you before tournaments, after tournaments. So like having this hour with you guys, or hour plus, it's so fun, because it's almost like an extension of like how we talk at the boat launch and after weigh-ins. And it's such a cool just dynamic to have these relationships with you guys. So I definitely appreciate it. So we're going to go into our last and final question. Tyler, explain in detail how ICAST, IHSA, NYFA, BFLs, whatever, and other organizations are one way to get your game better for tournament fishing.
Well, anytime you are in a tournament competing against other high school kids, you're going to get better. I mean, it's going to make it more fun. I think it's more fun the more kids are in the tournament. I mean, you can always just go win a 6-boat tournament, but there's not much fun in that. So fishing like ICAST, and we have 91 boats show up at Egypt, and then you place well, that's always going to make you better. It's going to make you feel better. And I love fishing tournaments like that.
So you're saying the big fields are still good?
Yes. Like even in Pickwick and Hartwell, 100+ boat tournaments, when you don't do well, I feel like you still get better. It still helps just fishing against more boats like that. It's more fun for sure.
I agree. I think it gives you what's the word that I'm thinking of? Validation that your work, your body of work, when you place high in those tournaments, it gives you a good feeling of your success, right?
Yes.
Like you said, it's easy to win a 6-boat, a 20-boat field. It's very hard to win a 91-boat field. And I know I don't want to put salt in the wound, but we got second at Shelbyville, second at Lake. Hey, you really took first at Lake of Egypt. You just lost the tiebreaker.
The amount of times we've heard that is hilarious, and I just laugh. We did what we could that day, you know.
Yeah.
If a lot of people don't know, but at 10:30 we only had 2 fish in the box, and one was a 12-incher.
Yeah.
We got on one mat with a frog and just blew it up.
You just kind of randomly picked up that frog. I mean,
yeah, it was just like, we aren't catching them, so at least throw something I like to throw, and then kaboosh. I was like, okay, here we go.
So, Pete, was that your 12-incher that you caught?
Yeah.
I hadn't caught a fish till like probably noon. I didn't catch a fish.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So obviously, I mean, the struggle.
And of course, by the end of the day, he had the 3 or whatever our big bag.
Hey. So he got you there. You guys worked together. We've already established that the weaknesses and the strengths make you guys the team that you are, for sure. So Pete, you get to finish this off. Explain in detail how ICAST, IHSA, NYFA, and other organizations just get you. It's one way to get you better at tournament fishing.
So I think one of my favorite parts about it is getting to fish with kids from, out of your area. Like, I'll use a kid, for example, Nathan Colstrand. I would have never known the kid, talked to the kid. But then all of a sudden, he walks up to me at Braidwood and he's like, hey, my name's Nathan. Nice to meet you. And we talk. And then now I see him at, the college tournaments at, all bash meetings.
He's going to be your teammate next year.
Yeah. Like you get to meet kids that you would have never even thought of meeting before. You grow your friend group is a big one. And then you get to fish against people who have way different strengths.
Yeah.
You get to fish lakes that aren't your strengths, lakes that are. You learn just the amount you can learn in 4 years of high school is insane.
It's insane.
Like you look at a freshman and a senior, and it's wild. Like just the difference between them.
Yeah.
You can grow so much as an angler in 4 years fishing those divisions. I mean, even if you just pick one, I'd rather see everybody fish them all because, like, you know, we fish quite a few different series. We don't fish them all, of course. Like the IBNs, they're more of a northern region thing, and it's just, you know, just doesn't work out with our schedule a lot of times. We try to fish as much as we can, and you don't see a lot of the same anglers fishing every single trail. You know, you've got like your NYFA people, you've got probably a quarter to half of them that fish ICAST, and then same with the NY. You know, it goes both ways.
Yep.
You know. But like traveling up north to Heideke and Braidwood this year, I think we'll see some teams we've never seen before.
You will.
And then them coming down to Egypt and Kincaid. I mean, there's going to be there's diversity. It's all over the place. It's awesome.
Yeah, Nathan Kalstrand is a super nice kid, isn't he?
Yes, he loves to talk to me.
He does. He does. Yeah, he's such a good guy. He's going to be a guest on my on the podcast in the future. We just got to get the right schedule down. All right, so I want to add on what you were saying, like having the diversity of friends. I think that's such a cool thing for all you kids, because the relationships and the connections that you guys are making, whether they're going to be teammates, like you and Nathan are going to be teammates next year, right? And or just advice, right? Or in the future, what if you guys are like going for a job and someone has a good connection and stuff like that? I mean, that is such a huge thing. But when it comes to fishing wise, I think that's such a great way. So you if you want to fish against some teams you've never fished against, go to the Fox Chain. You'll have so many northern, I mean, close to Wisconsin, high schools that, I mean, they usually just fish that event and not many others, but that's where you're going to see a lot of like random kids where you're like, who the heck are these guys? Right. Which is, I think is cool. It's super cool. So you guys are fishing Heideke, right?
That's the plan as of right now.
Okay. So I will say, hopefully you do fish it, because I think this is one of those bodies of waters that you're either going to really hate or really appreciate the experience you're going to get from it, because it is nothing like anything else that you see in Illinois. It's crazy. But I think the life scope that you guys have is going to be a big deal when you're there. So hopefully you guys do fish it, because I think just to give you a little northern tip, that's going to help you.
Sounds good.
So
What I can tell from Google Earth, the thing's just a big rock bowl, basically.
That's all it is. There's maybe on Google Earth, if you look at it, it's like shaped kind of like that, and maybe one little patch of vegetation. But yeah, it can be a unique body of water. We fished there 2 years ago, and the bags that came out of there, I mean, to me, that's my, like in the northern area, that's like our rend, where if it doesn't fish well, it's
terrible.
It's terrible. If it fishes well, and that event, it fished well, I was just like super happy. I mean, the bags that just came out of there were just amazing. So, and the cool thing is it's mostly smallmouth, which is also really cool. So Tyler, you better get that spinning rod ready. Because it looks like Pete might be just bringing them all in. But you know what? That's what I'm saying. Like you just never know. There are some big largemouth in there too, which it's such a fun body of water. And that'll be the furthest north that you guys have fished in our events, right? Braidwood and Heideke.
Yep. Yeah. We haven't made it up to Fox yet, but
your other teammates did. Your other teammates did. If you're watching this, make your kids fish, because they're going to be nice kids.
Yeah. They won't spend their money on anything else.
Yeah, exactly. They won't spend money on anything else but fishing. They just won't have money. Like look at Pete's seat. That's his money. It's his boat. He's sitting on his boat. That's where all his money goes. So
I do in my boat. So I mean, like
All right. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for coming on here. I definitely appreciate your insights on the questions and everything you've done. And I wish all the best of luck for you going forward. I think you guys are an awesome team. I think you guys are an awesome duo. You're going to do well, and we're going to see the Lake of Egypt. Are we going to keep this 8th, 10th? Where am I at? 10th, 4th, and 2nd. Are we gonna get that one on March 19th? We will find out. We will find out. And if we do, you're coming back on, and we're gonna talk about it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
More. We got plenty more stories.
We could always talk more. Tyler, Pete, thank you so much for jumping on and taking the time, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yep. Thank you.